Hi, folks. Chris Voss here from thechrisvossshow.com, thechrisvossshow.com. Here in the blog post, I want to share with you, of course, review the latest in social media and technology. Be sure to subscribe to thechrisvossshow.com, our YouTube channel, and give our video a likes, thumbs up, so that we can help make more for you. We review, of course, all the latest phones from all the major phone companies that send them to us. And this phone today is the HTC Droid DNA. Pretty cool phone, huh, on the boot up. Now, you can see it boots up really fast. It's the, like I said, the HTC Droid DNA, the newest thing out from Verizon Wireless, and it's an awesome phone. I'm super impressed with it. I love how thin it is. I love how big and beautiful the screen is, and it's got a 1080p screen. That's one of the coolest things about this. This is one of the first 1080p screens coming to American shores. Now, what's also cool about this is most iPhone or mobile phones will have a 30 frames per second 1080p camera video out the back. This has both out the back and also out the front. So you have 1080p if you want to take and do voice calls, Skype, Google Hangouts, that sort of thing. You've got 1080p that will come out this side here in video format. So it's very cool. It's a very beautifully designed product, and as you can see, and we'll get into, the screen is just immaculate. It's 1080p. It looks great, especially compared to most of the other phones that are out there in the marketplace, which are mostly 720p screens with the way they're formatted. And it's a little bit of a difference. Now, for most people who might not have a discerning eye or might not really care, you won't notice much of a difference. One thing that is noticeable is that most of the apps that are out there aren't really built for 1080p. We didn't see much difference between the apps. The quality is a little bit better in some apps, especially some of the more newer, expensive apps and people that invest in them, like Angry Birds and stuff like that. We noticed that the quality was better. But for the most part, the apps really aren't up to par with the quality of screen. So it's probably making an investment in this phone is a matter of time until it comes out. Now, watching movies or Hulu Plus, Netflix and stuff on this screen, real big difference, and it's noticeable. Now, for the average layman or someone who just doesn't really care about the quality of their screen thing, and they just want to watch some movies, chew some gum, and send some text messages, maybe this won't matter. But if you really enjoy good quality screen watching on your phone, maybe you're a commuter, or maybe you're a student, whatever it is, the screen is much more beautiful, and the detail in movies or videos that you may watch on this screen are just that much more awesome. One thing we love about it, it's just really, really thin, and it's got this great beveled edge back. This kind of got a hard kind of rubberized feel to it. I don't know how to explain it, but it feels very comfortable and holds very well in the hand. It has a giant screen, of course, and size to it, but it fits very well given its thinness. I just love it, and it's so thin. You can't believe that there is in here all this great stuff, and some of the processing we'll talk about, and the battery we'll talk about, and how they squeezed it all into this little unit. So they did a really good job of it. I was hoping that the performance would be faster, given that they put some more juice into this thing, and it is a quad core. That's the other amazing cool factor to this phone. It is a quad core, but I think what happens is some of the speed gets lost in producing the 1080p screen. Now, there is a bit of battery bleed to it, and when I say battery bleed, I mean the battery does move a little bit faster. Not much. You can kind of get through a day, but we notice that in times when it's being used a lot on standby, it tends to burn a little bit. It's a 1080p screen, and that's one of the things that they're initially dealing with. Now, you do have a big battery into it, so let's get into some of the stats and specs so we can talk about that. Now, you're looking at a height of 5.55 inches, 2.78 in width, and 0.38 in thickness. It's really thin. In fact, we've reviewed a lot of the Droids from Verizon Wireless, and we've liked the Droids. They've been excellent phones, and they have great speed to them. But one thing about this thing is that it's much thinner. It doesn't have that bulky brick feeling that the Motorola Droids have, and the HTC has a nice thin, just amazingly thin, light feel to it. So it has a weight of 5 ounces. Doesn't feel like 5 ounces, let me tell you. On it, you're looking at Android Jelly Bean is the operating system that you're going to have on it. It's got a memory processor of 16 gigabytes internal. It's got a 1.5 gigahertz Qualcomm, or quad core, I should say, Qualcomm Snapdragon S4 Pro processor and 2 gigabytes of DDR2 RAM. So it's got a lot of RAM to it. It's only a 1.5 gigahertz, but it does have quad core technology to it. But like I said, we didn't notice too much faster speed. It's noticeable a little in there, but compared to some of the top phones that are coming on the market, it comes in a little bit below those. So we were kind of disappointed. We really wanted to outperform everything. But hey, it's got 1080p screen, where a lot of the most recent phones that are coming to the market, like Note 2 and the LG Optimus G and stuff, they don't have 1080p yet. So this definitely excels in that format, and it's much more beautiful on the screen. You're looking at 5-inch display on this thing, 1080p, Super LCD, 3 Corning Gorilla Glass 2 that you'll have on it. The battery, this is what's amazing. 2020 milliamp hour battery. They fit a 2020 milliamp battery in there. Most phones that I've reviewed that are this thickness, you can barely get like a 14 or 15 milliamp battery in there. Maybe it's because it's a little taller or something. I don't know, but it does look great. The usage time up to 12.8 hours, or standby time up to 14.7 days. We didn't get that sort of results in standby time. Even this thing just sitting on its desk, getting notifications, tends to burn out in a day. I don't know what standby they're using. Maybe they may be thinking of like 3G or something of that nature. We didn't get that result at all. It tends to want to burn battery, even if you're just in standby mode. It's got HTC Sense 4.0, which is the UI from HTC, which is okay. You know, it does the job. The 8 megapixel camera that's on the back of it seems to be pretty much the standard issue operating camera that HTC uses on all their current phones. We didn't notice anything special or different than any HTC phone, especially in the 1 series that we've reviewed. We'll get into that in a bit, and we'll show you how that works. Now, on the front, you do have a 2.1 megapixel 88 ultra wide angle front facing with improved low light performance that we have on the front. So that's a really great front facing camera, 2.1 megapixels. Very few cameras have that. You have the Samsung series is pretty much one of the few that I know that have up in that area and line. With it, you're also, let's see, we want to make sure we covered everything here for you. Yep, that's pretty much it. Now, it doesn't have a removable battery at the back, which is sometimes something that many people on Android enjoy. It also doesn't have an expandable memory card. But, you know, one of the things about that is that who needs that anymore? I don't even use the expandable memory cards in all the other phones that we have because we use the cloud. We use Dropbox, and we upload everything to Dropbox. I mean, why have to do this pain in the butt thing where you got to plug your phone in, download all the pictures? You just upload it to Dropbox and you're done. So we do that, and there's there's BoxNet and a few other different apps that you can get on here that you can take and utilize. So let's take a look at the UI. Not as fun as the Samsung UI. It's kind of plain, which is the HTC way of their setup. They have a beautiful settings area that you can go ahead and get into. Now, of course, you have Beats audio on this. This activates once you plug in a headphone into the headphone jack or earphones, and it will activate an equalization system that will make it sound all really cool and all that good stuff. Pretty simple on the HTC UI. I've never been really excited about it. I actually like the LG UI, the newest and latest LG UI that's come out with the Optimus G, but they do a fair job with the HTC. You can see we're running Android version 4.1.1 on this. So you've got your swipe, and of course you've got your ability to add widgets, screens, folders, all those things that people love. You can see here that it's an infinite swipe system, so you can go all the way around. It's got a beautiful outlay, and if you can see very well on the recording that we're doing, just everything looks immaculate, just really solid on the screen. You really notice a difference, especially if you know how to appreciate the quality of this. Now, when you're looking at this between this phone and a 720p screen phone, you're not going to see too much of a difference unless you really, really look. But it does make a difference to people who have discerning eye, like I mentioned once before. Across the top, we have the front-facing camera over here. We have a small speaker for the phone calls that you're going to take and make. We have a back button, a home button, and we have a recent apps button. Let's take and flip this puppy over so you can see the back of it. On the back, we have your camera eye here. Wasn't too excited that the camera eye lies pretty much flat to the back of the phone, which means you're going to get scratched unless you get a case on it. There's a little bit of a lip to it, but not much. Really, that camera eye is going to get scratched. You're going to have a case. You got your flash lamp right here. And they got this beveled back to here. You got the HTC thing in here, and you got your speaker down below here. The speaker looks really small, but this speaker that they built into this really rocks and rolls. We've been very super impressed with the speaker. Like I said, we've been very impressed with the speaker and how it sounds. It comes across very, very well and presents movies pretty much awesome. Across the top, we have a small area that's for your SIM card to go into. It's kind of interesting, the power button's in the top here. And I got to tell you, out of all the HTC phones and phones I reviewed, I really like having the power button at the top. I really, really do. Been very impressed with it being up there. Some folks have complained about it, but I like it. A lot of times you have the phone in one hand, and it's easy just to go boop and get it done. Or sometimes I just can't find the right button and I'm trying to do two things at once or whatever, and it's so easy just to take and do it and get it done. So we like the top part there, and of course you can see there's a small area there for, let's go and flip that over the way it was. There's your microphone earphone jack, and there's a small microphone hole here for that. So going down the left hand side, there's nothing really to see. It just has this really cool red band, which is nice. On the bottom, this has kind of been an irritant for some bloggers. I didn't find it too bad. It's a breakaway area for plugging in your sync and charge cable, and you can see there's a small microphone hole here. One pain about it is getting it back into place. But once you get it back into place, it's not too bad. It takes a little bit of time and trial to learn. Now, they had to do this because I believe Japan or Korea or Tokyo or somebody had some sort of rule that you had to have a splash guard on mobile phones now. So they had to install this for the purposes of that regulation. But I find I actually feel a little bit more safer with it because there's one less entry point for water to potentially get through if you were to spill something on this. Down the right side of the device, it's got a pretty cool red line, like I said, and it's got this really sleek, hard to see, almost don't see it sense that it's there, the volume rocker button up and down. But it works really good, and it feels very comfortable. It doesn't feel like you've got this nobule sticking out the whole time, and it's very easy to take and control the volume. So I like that aspect of it. Let's take a look at some of the other features of the phone and aspects. Here we have the results of our SpeedNet test, where we're testing the speed of the Verizon network and interacting with the phone. I believe that we're in a new area of where we're doing our filming, and we're having a really hard time getting good Verizon signal. It does show that we have a lot of bars. I'm not really sure if the 4G LTE is lit up properly there. We don't show the up and down. There's a little bit of it there. So we're showing some really low scores. This is the best that we can provide you at this time, considering this is where we film. And of course, your results may vary depending upon your location, etc., etc. We've seen better results out of the Verizon network, and they usually have a great system. So, given that, these are the results that we got. It may be the speed test net maybe isn't properly reading the DNA. We find a lot of these apps have to be updated to all the newest, latest stuff. With these quad cores that are coming out, a lot of them need to be updated. So I don't know if that's a factor in this, but those are the scores to present to you at this time of recording. Okay, so you can see our Geekbench 2 score came out at 1753, which is a very good score. It's not up in the 2000s like some of the most recent hottest phones are, but 1753 isn't bad when you consider you're getting the 1080p screen, you're getting 1080p out the front, you're getting a big, beautiful 5-inch pixel screen, or 5 inch screen, if you will, filled with pixels, probably the better way to say that. So it's really good score. It's definitely higher than the iPhone 5 and a lot of other competitors in that genre, even the S3. So not a bad score. It definitely operates fast, and we found it doesn't benchmark probably up to the speed it truly is. A lot of these apps that are out there sometimes have to be updated to meet the demands of these newer quad cores that are coming out. You can see here some of the details. Now, the great thing about the programs where you use in this benchmarking test is you can pause them at any time, and of course the great thing is you can download them on your device you might currently have to see how well your phone compares to our tests we're doing on the phones that we review, and you can see maybe what you might want to upgrade to. Okay, so here you can see the screen tests that we're taking and doing, testing for brightness and stuff. Colors are very rich and very strong, and everything else. Hopefully this will come through the screen to you. Just really rich looking colors, and of course your 1080p, how could it not be? You can see here the colors are definitely strong and great on the device. That's one thing that does you do notice when you're using the device is the colors tend to pop a little bit more than they do with other phones, and there's much more clarity of detail, of course, as you would expect. So let's talk about the camera that's on the Droid DNA. It seems to be pretty much the standard operating procedure that's on all the HTCs lately, the same 8 megapixel camera. Well, I don't notice too much of a difference. What is the difference is, since your photos are being taken in high quality, you see them a whole lot better in 1080p, especially presented with the high quality screen. Now, of course, you have over here on the left some of your different settings and things you can do, self timers, aspect to resolution, video quality, etc., etc. All these different adjustments you can do pretty much with any Android phone. Like I said, standard operating procedure. Being able to set them up, you have the ability to set different effects that you can pre-see, and etc., etc. You have, of course, zoom, where you can zoom in and out, and all that sort of good stuff. So you have your shutter button here, you have your video button here. We notice that the camera works really well. We don't see some of the additional blow-ups of the reds, blues, greens too much, as we've seen in some of the other 1X models, but of HTC's other line. But it takes great photos. We're very impressed with it. So they may have tweaked it just a little bit to give it some good photos. Let's go ahead and we'll start from the beginning here. You can see here really beautiful colors, and it's taking pictures. Now, like I say, I believe that the pictures are pretty much the same you're going to find on any HTC of the late model. The difference is here is you're actually seeing the clearness of the picture and the quality of the screen that you have at 1080p. You can see here wonderful gradient colors. We go from a deep blue down to the light blue here as we meet the horizon, which is a good indicator that it senses, the different shades of blue, greens, and everything else that are out there. And here you have an into the sun sort of shot that it does very well. Let's go ahead and do a video. It takes great video. And there may be a slight upgrade from some of the HTC phones that we've seen. It's hard to tell as you go between the different ones. But as you can see here, it does an awesome job. And like I said, a lot of it, I believe, does have to do with the 1080p screen being able to capture so much detail. You can see here beautiful reds, and of course you can pull them in, take them out, and all that good stuff. Here's a cute picture of my dog. She decided to sleep on the front doorstep as a pillow, so what can you say? This is a complete darkness shot taken in utter complete darkness with the flash lamp. Kind of an impressive flash lamp. Most of the HTCs that we've seen are they kind of struggle, and so this does really well when it comes to picking up the colors and detail. Of course, your 1080p here, so there's that. But other than that, this is it's okay. It's okay when it comes to mobile standards. It's good. I wouldn't call it great, but it's definitely good. Here's a video using the lamp flash. Really unimpressed with it compared to some of the other phones that we've seen that do a really good job. We're in really small, close quarters, and doesn't even light it up that well. Detail's good, so you've got that running for you in colors. but the lamp flash on it certainly could be better. And we find this pretty standard operating procedure with HTC phones. Other than that, I can't say really anything bad overall about the camera. It's a good camera, and it's a camera that you're going to find in most mobile phones nowadays, unless you're going with something really spectacular like the iPhone 5 has a great camera in it. Is it as fast and have a nice big screen and everything else? No, not as fast as the DNA. So you can choose and pick your battles to what you want. Okay, so here you can see the AnTuTu benchmark version 3.0.3 scores. On here we scored 20,840, which is below the LG Optimus G and below the Note 2 by a smidgen, but it still did a very good job. That's an awesome score compared to most mobile phone phones that are out there. You can see some of the individual scores down the side here. So I was hoping that it would do much better, but being a 1.5 quad core, it held its own pretty well. Okay, so here we're using CF Bench Pro version 1.2, and you can see kind of the breakdown of some of these numbers. Now, of course, you can pause this if you want to see the individual numbers. What we're mostly looking for is the overall score, and the overall score is 17,863. You can see the device outperformed the Galaxy S3, the HTC One X, the Samsung Galaxy S2 on down the line. Scored very well. Okay, so here we can see the scores on the device. It scored very well, 17,990. This is the benchmarking and scoring app, I believe it is. You can see the logo here. But it definitely beat out a lot of different contenders, especially the HTC One S, which is a very ferocious device when it comes down to having a lot of speed. It's the benchmarking and tuning app. Here's the GPS test, and what this does is test how well each device can get to an accuracy within 10 feet of itself and know where it is on the planet and how many satellites it picks up. You can see here it picks up to 20 in view and it's using 13. It's doing a great job of knowing where it's at. As soon as we launch the app, it immediately can go to 10 feet in accuracy, so it's doing a good job. Okay, this is the billion counter app that we're taking using it, and it tests how fast the device can count to a billion. Pretty fast, 23.656. Okay, so here we can see the results of using the Passmark performance test and how this thing scored. 2873 was the system score. 8469 was the CPU test score. Disk test, 7652. You can, of course, pause this at any time if you want to see the individual scores. Memory test, 2537, and 2D graphics test 1969, and 3D graphics test 1028. Okay, this here is the Quadrant Standard test, this Quadrant Standard app, if you will. Scored a monster 7835 score. You can see some of the breakdown of the total CPU scores, definitely over a lot of different things. It's a raging fast phone. Okay, so we have our Geo Benchmark 2.5.1 version scores. You can see here on the 2.5 HD Egypt test C24Z16, we scored 3293 frames, 29 frames per second. There's an asterisk there. We've noticed on newer phones when sometimes the apps aren't up to date or something, they'll have an asterisk which indicates sometimes there might be an issue with what it's tested. So take that into advisement. There's the off-screen test, which did 3395 frames at 30 frames per second. And maybe the app isn't updated to 1080p. Okay, so here you can see the Velomo score test that we got. This test HTML5 across the network and everything else. It got 1756 in its score for HTML5 and Metal 622. Okay, so here we're using the KFS benchmark app. This gives us an idea as to how well these apps perform on a frames per second rate. You can see here that the total overall frames per second was 25.105 frames per second. Okay, so here we can see, I'm not sure if you can see it, it comes out really small on this screen. The AnTuTu 3D rating benchmarking score came in at 5,949, which is a really good score. Okay, so here we're using the Andy Bench app. This is a bench app that will give you scores based on threads, both native and Java. and we scored 8,117 on the native and on the Java 234. Now, we did get a warning on the AMD bench that stated that we're using a multi-core device and it was having trouble tracking it properly. So they probably need to update their app for these quad cores. So we'll take and put that out there for whatever sort of reputation you want to put behind that score. Overall, all in all, I really like the phone. I really like the phone. It's a great phone. It's very fast, beautiful screen, 1080p out the front for video, and out the back is also great. It's just an awesome phone. I love the thinness of it. I love the hold. It's probably one of my favorite phones from the Verizon wireless line, and that's not to say anything bad about the Motorola's Droid line. They have great phones, but this thing's really thin, very light. It doesn't feel like a brick, and it's got a beautiful, excellent screen. So be sure to go to VerizonWireless.com. That's VerizonWireless.com. Say hello to our friends. Chris Voss tested, Chris Voss approved. Really enjoy this phone. It's very beautiful. In fact, this would probably be the phone I have if I was with Verizon Wireless. It's a very beautiful, elegant phone, and I love how thin it is. Wish I had a little bit more juice in keeping, the battery going a little bit better, but it seems to hold up fairly well, depending upon how you use it. Thanks for coming by the ChrisVossShow.com. You should check back in often.